Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the September meeting of the Finance Committee. If the city clerk will please poll the committee members. So I will know who is here.
Mayor Pro Tem Adams.
Here.
Councilmember McIntosh.
Here.
Councilmember Taylor.
Present.
And Councilmember Clark.
Here. Thank you. We're all here today. We have a very full agenda today. If you will notice on the consent agenda, there are a number of items, particularly in the purchasing area this time of year, with the new fiscal year starting, a lot of items coming in there. Hang on 1 minute. Bear with me. Before I do that, I need to read the virtual statement. Bear with me. Let me get over here. Madam Clerk, I don't see. Did you send it to me? By the way, folks, I'm doing this from my office out of City Hall, so I don't have all the paperwork in front of me. Sandy, if you have it, you can just read it to us, would be fine.
Okay, hold on 1 second and she will read it.
Okay.
Good afternoon. Due to the Safer at Home order, all committee members are participating virtually. For virtual meetings, committee members will be muted until asked to be heard. When there is a vote, it will be necessary to take a roll call vote. A committee member will be recognized, raise their hand, and state their vote.
Thank you very much. With that, we will start with the consent agenda. Are there any items anyone would want pulled from consent?
C19.
See what?
C19.
C19. I'm going to do C6.
C25, Scipio.
C25.
Well, I guess we're just yelling it out. Okay.
Just yell it out.
C2, C3, and C20.
That was C2, 3, and 20.
Correct.
Okay. Anyone else out there? Just, okay. If not, can I get a motion to?
Yes, I move for approval of the balance of the consent agenda.
Second.
Ms. Adams, who was the second?
McIntosh.
McIntosh, second. If City Clerk will please poll the committee.
Mayor Pro Tem Adams.
Yes.
Councilmember McIntosh.
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor.
Yes.
Councilmember Clark.
Yes, those are approved. I will go in numerical order. I'll start with C2. If the clerk would please read that one.
Item C2, information on quarterly key work items, capital project, and performance indicator data.
Okay.
That was me.
Ms. Adams, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you, Chair Clark. I just have some concerns about this report. It's too many to name right now, but I think it would be a great thing, Mr. Garrity, if you would review this with each of the council members individually and ask them to read it in its entirety and mark off those areas that they see are questionable to them. Again, I thank the staff for putting in the work to putting this matrix together, but there's some clarity that needs to be held on some of the projects that are part of capital, but were also part, I guess, of the bonds and everything else. And some of the timelines, the red, yellow, green is great, but the timelines for some of these projects, and I know it could be construction, cost of materials, COVID, but I think we may need to see that on some of these projects. Mr. Clark, Chairman Clark.
So, Mr. Garrity, if you will follow up with each one of the council members, that's a good idea.
Yeah, absolutely. Good evening, Chairman Clark, Mayor Pro Tem Adams, Mayor Joints, members of the Finance Committee and Council. Yeah, we will follow up individually. We're also got some feedback yesterday what we'll start doing as well is in each quarterly report, we'll attach some explanations for the ones that are behind, delayed, or not meeting their performance goals. So we'll have that as well. But right now, we'll meet with everybody individually.
Thank you, sir. All right. Well, now that was
one more thing, Chairman Clark. Mr. Garrity, there are some projects that were slated to be started quite a ways back. And this goes back to what we talk about when we have these different buckets of money or funds, that if the project is delayed and it looks like, again, because it's not being started, the council members or the council and the mayor should be able to know what are our options to use this money for, restricted or unrestricted. So I'm sure those will be some very beneficial meetings. Thank you.
Okie dokie. We will now go to C3. If the city clerk will please read that one.
Do we need to approve?
It's information.
It was information.
Yeah,
Okay.
just information.
Item C3,
Y'all keep
update
up.
on
Go ahead, C3.
Item C3, update on disadvantaged business enterprise program.
Ms. Adams.
Yes. This program of the goals for the disadvantaged business enterprise, when you read the numbers that the goal was 6.9 and this, what we did was 0.41, and we had over $3 million with 12,866 being paid to disadvantaged businesses. The city staff did list the steps that have been taken to try to increase it. But at the end of the day, and then there's the caveat at the bottom that talks about the good faith efforts. All I'm saying, people, we got to do better than this. We got to do more. And along with, if the ARPA money and the infrastructure money allows us to help get some of the training up for these businesses or creation of them, we got to be about it and not just talk about it. I applaud the report, but it was very disheartening to read that, again, out of the 3.1 million, only 12,866 went to disadvantaged businesses. And the money, they said, identified the dollars were spent on tires, bus shelter, purchase installations, fuel, computer maintenance updates, parts, repairs, advertising, uniforms, cleaning of the bus station, and supplies and material. Again, that's a very basic list that doesn't require an engineering degree on over 90% of it. So I think we can do more. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I'd appreciate, Mr. Garrity, if you could provide just a number of what percent of those dollars that a disadvantaged business actually bid on.
Absolutely.
To see if we even have companies bidding. Okay. That's information only also. Thank you very much. Next item is C6. If the clerk will please read that one.
Item C6, consideration of items relating to CARES Act funds.
This was mine. This is the first of many items, motions that are going to be coming through as far as the, I call it the COVID money, the recovery money. If the appropriate person would please present this, we will need to vote on it, but I want everybody to understand. And we all went over these items at our special meeting we had on this, but just to go over these real quickly and then we can vote on them. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Clark, Mayor Jones, Mayor Pro Tem Adams, and members of the Finance Committee and Council. I would like to bring in Marla Newman, the Community Development Director, to discuss this item.
Okay. Ms. Newman, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chairman Clark, Mayor Pro Tem Adams, Mayor Jones, members of the committee and council. Again, I'm Marla Newman, Community Development Director. Before you today is a request to recapture and reallocate CARES funds that were provided to one of our nonprofit organizations providing shelter and services to persons experiencing homelessness. During the height of the pandemic, we entered into a number of contracts with organizations that were trying to respond rapidly to the emerging needs. As it turns out, in the course of this last year and some of the work that was anticipated to occur has not been able to happen. Some of it meant hiring temporary staff. Some of it meant providing testing, COVID testing to a lot of the shelters and their guests. And so with the very tight timelines that this money has to be spent, we recognized that some of it needed to be recaptured and reallocated so that we could in fact meet the required target dates. You'll see in the actual action request form that we had a requirement to spend 20% of the dollars by the end of this month, with 80% expended by March and the balance by September. Reallocating some of these funds, and you have a list in the Exhibit A to show you where the monies came from, as well as where we're looking to reallocate. That will enable us to actually expense all of these dollars before the relevant deadlines and allow us to keep all that money here in this community rather than send it back. And I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions? If not,
a comment.
Yes, ma'am. Adams.
Thank you, Ms. Tony and Ms. Newman, for being on top of this and bringing this to our attention. For those that don't know or weren't around, we have had to give back money before because we didn't spend it from HUD. And we definitely, in the times that we live in now, if it means reallocation, there are lots of needs, and we can always find a need for extra money. Thank you, Chair.
Ms. Adams, while you're there, would you like to make a motion to approve?
I move that we approve this item.
C6.
Item C6.
Do I have a second?
Second, McIntosh.
We have a motion and a second to approve C6. If the clerk could please poll the board or the committee.
Mayor Pro Tem Adams,
Yes.
Councilmember McIntosh,
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark.
Yes. Thank you all very much. The next item is C19. If the clerk could please read this one.
Item C19, consideration of items relating to Rams Point.
Mr. McIntosh, you asked for this one.
Yeah, I don't have any, I would just, because it's a housing issue, I'd like to just hear an explanation of it and just, a general overview, maybe drill down a little bit into a little more detail than what we got on the report. Again, like I say, it's a housing policy issue, so I want to just hear a report on it.
Okay.
I
Ms.
have a
Tony?
question.
Oh, wait, go ahead. Ms. Adams?
And maybe it was within the documents. Does this also follow our guidelines as to how long will the affordable housing clause be attached to our investment?
Okay.
Marla.
Tony, is this your area, or Ms. Newman? Should I
Yes.
keep you?
Yes.
Ms. Newman, you still have the floor. You may answer Ms. Adams' question and amplify the project for Mr. McIntosh.
Yes, sir. Again, greetings, council members, members of the committee, Chairman Clark, Mayor Pro Tem Adams, Mayor Joins. This, as with all of our investments in affordable housing, will have a restricted covenant on the amount of years that the property is to remain affordable. And in this particular case, this has a 25-year affordability period attached to it. As far as some basic details, this is a mixed-use development. It is in the East Ward. It is near the corner of 5th and Martin Luther King Boulevard. Previously, council had voted to authorize the sale of this property to MTB3 developers, and the developers are on with us today, Mike and Sharman Baker. So I will give a little overview, and then certainly they will be happy to answer any additional questions that you might have. We actually had to ask for a slight extension of time to get this project moving. And so now the developers are ready to receive some financial support and actually start the construction process. You'll see in the CARF that we are asking the developers to provide a total of 10% of the units. Part will be for those whose incomes are 50 to 80% of area median income. And then 5% or half of those designated units will be for those earning 80 to 120% of AMI. Those that are 50 to 80% are considered low income. The 80 to 120% are what we normally call workforce housing. So the number of units will be split between the affordable and the workforce units. It's a multi-story development. First floor will be commercial uses, and then the second and third floors will be for housing. And I'll pause right there to see if there are some specific questions either I can answer or I might invite the developers to answer.
Okay. Are either one of the Bakers here, if they would like to comment? And I apologize.
Hello,
I see a few people here. So yes, ma'am, I see Ms. Baker. Would you like to comment? Please give your name and address for the record.
yes, this is Sharman Baker. I'm at 1143 Clyde Edgerton Drive, Kernersville, North Carolina, 27284.
Anything you would like to add on the project?
Yes, I wanted to thank everyone for considering this project. We are natives of Winston-Salem, my husband and I, born and raised here, and we are very dedicated and passionate about the East Winston community. We were looking at this property probably about 10 years ago and noticed that there was no development in East Winston on that particular side of East Winston, and we wanted to, as community members, take it and make something really good out of it. So this will be a mixed-use property, like Ms. Newman said. We will have about 30 apartments that will be rented to low income and also at market rate. So we will have a combination of the two. We have also had letter of intents from small business owners that want to locate in the building. And we're also actively searching for an anchor tenant, such as a Starbucks or a Novant Health urgent care.
Okay, thank you. Approximately how many square feet of commercial space will you?
11,000.
11,000, okay. Any other questions or comments? First of all, let me thank you and your husband for your interest in Winston-Salem. I do remember y'all coming several years ago, and glad you have persevered through it.
Thank you.
I would like a motion to approve if I could get one, if we don't have any other questions.
I move for approval of item C19.
Second.
Second,
We have
Judge.
a motion and a second to approve C19. If the clerk would please poll the committee.
Mayor Pro Tem Adams,
Yes.
Councilmember McIntosh,
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark.
Yes, that is approved. And Ms. Baker, this will go to the full board. I don't have a calendar in front of me. I might be able to find one here. Hang on a minute. When's the next full board meeting? Somebody help me out here real quick.
September 20th.
September 20th, it will be virtual. You'll do the same type of sign in.
Okay.
And because it has passed unanimously at the committee level, it will be on the consent agenda, which means unless someone pulls it, we'll vote on it as we did earlier. So
Okay.
just let you know what's going on there. All right?
Okay. Thank you,
Next.
council members and Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you so much.
Okay. If the city clerk will read the next one, which is C20.
Item C20, resolution to enter into an agreement with Rummer, Klepper, and Call LLP for professional engineering services for design and construction oversight for the replacement of the Lakeview Drive Bridge at
The citizens that live out there for the past 2.5 years, it's outlived its usefulness and therefore it's wreaking havoc. No different than whether it was the bridge on Reynolds Park Road, no different than Novak, and no different than some of the other ones. But this one, with all of the rain we've been having, it has really, I'm just glad to see that we're moving in the right direction. I'm sure a lot of my constituents are on this committee meeting. There have been lots of meetings. Mr. Garrity or Mr. King Could you kind of give me or them a timeline as to, with this beginning of this project, to get a design, where are we right now as to when the first soil or bridge repair will take place?
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and council members. I've got Keith Huff here with us this afternoon, and Keith can give you a good overview in response to your question, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Huff.
Mr. Huff, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening. Mr. Chairman, Mayor Joins, Mayor Pro Tem Adams, members of the council. Yes, the action item you have before you tonight is to award a design contract to RK&K for the design and permitting for the bridge and its total replacement. As far as the time frame, it's going to take the designer several months to get through the design process and obtain permits for this particular effort. To add to this, there is a conservation easement on the property that we'll have to deal with and address with a resource conservation institute. So that will be an added complexity. So with regard to time frame, a very, approximate time frame would be going to construction a year from now, assuming we get all the permits and can obtain rights through the conservation easement holder. So best case, a year from now, construction.
Okay, thank you.
I wish some of you other council members were in some of the shoes of us that's dealing with the infrastructure issue.
Hey,
Mr. Huff, is there any way that we can fast track this issue, whether it's with the state, whether it's with us, whether it's with the conservation, easement, retainment, licensing, permitment, going ahead with that process? Hopefully some infrastructure money will come down and within the next 6 to 12 months. But I fear that the amount of water and rain and bad weather we've seen over the past couple of years, that I think we may end up with a more of a Bethabara Road deal than what we already got on Bethabara Road. What do you think? Or Mr. Garrity or Mr. King?
Luckily, Mayor Pro Tem, the bridge is already closed. So it won't be open to active traffic, but staff will do everything they can to try to get the design through as quick as we possibly can.
Mayor Pro Tem, I would just add the issues you highlighted will be front and center during Public Works Committee tomorrow evening when Keith is going to be making a presentation on stormwater issues and kind of highlighting the frequency and intensity of those rain events that you just described. So we'll be kind of extending this discussion, I suspect, over into Public Works Committee tomorrow evening.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
thank you. I do need a motion to approve this contract proposal.
I move for approval of item C20.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for approve item C20. If the clerk will please poll the committee.
Mayor Pro Tem Adams,
Yes.
Councilmember McIntosh,
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark.
Yes, that is approved. And we will now go to the last item, which is C25. If the clerk will please read this one.
Item C25, resolution affirming the City Council's authorization of the sale of certain city-owned land by private sale to United Health Centers.
I think this is Ms. Scipio.
Yes, it was, sir.
You have the floor.
Thank you, Chairman Clark, and good afternoon, Mayor and Mayor Pro Tem Adams and my fellow council members. I just wanted to comment that although this was agreed to in 2016, it is now coming forward. And I do celebrate the United Health Centers for actually wanting to move into our East Ward in this particular facility that they're going to build. Again, healthcare is absolutely essential. This is one of our qualified census tracts. So having this kind of investment will certainly improve the outcome of the East Ward in terms of economic development, health disparities, And so I'm very pleased about this coming forward. And this is how we as a city government really help to strengthen our neighborhoods and communities by making these kinds of donations to nonprofits for a real public purpose. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Can I get a motion on C25, please?
Move for approval of
Second.
C25.
We have a motion and a second on C25. If the clerk will please poll the committee.
Mayor Pro Tem Adams,
Yes.
Councilmember McIntosh,
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor,
Yes.
and Councilmember Clark.
Yes. Thank you all very much. That concludes the consent items. We have, let me just look here real quick. We have 5 general items, and we will start with G1. If the clerk will please read that one.
Item G1, consideration of items relating to the fiscal year 2021-2022 budget ordinances, coronavirus local fiscal recovery funds.
Ben, who, call on you. Can you present this for us?
Yes, sir, Chairman Clark. Good afternoon, Mayor Joins, Mayor Pro Tem Adams, and members of the City Council. I'm going to have Meredith flash up a couple of slides here.
Thank you.
This item has 2 parts to it. So back on August 23rd, you all held a special meeting to discuss the city's potential uses of the $51 million that we've received in coronavirus local fiscal recovery funds. Staff presented a phased approach plan that you all funded as part of the adopted 21-22 budget. So in this first slide, this is a first appropriation of $2.95 million of the city's coronavirus local fiscal recovery funds. What staff is proposing is to swap that general fund balance for the fiscal recovery funds for the $1.35 million crime prevention plan. In addition, we're proposing to appropriate $1.5 million for city employee premium pay. Under the interim final rule issued by the U.S. Treasury Department, we can utilize some of the funds to provide a premium payment to employees who have been engaged in work that brings them into contact, potentially with others in the community or handling things that have been touched by others in the community, those who've really been on the front line. And so what we're proposing is to provide a $500 one-time premium pay bonus for those employees. It would be approximately about 1,500 employees, full-time and part-time. And then lastly, $100,000 for a right to counsel program. As we all know, the eviction moratorium that the federal government had said has expired. We know that there are folks out there who are at risk of eviction. There has been a network of eviction diversion stakeholders who have been meeting regularly over the last few months to discuss ways to encourage people to utilize the ERAP funds, but also to try to identify other best practices or ways to assist these folks and help hopefully keep them from being evicted from their homes. What this would do is provide matching funds to a private commitment that's been made to United Way as part of funding 2 staff attorney positions for legal aid of North Carolina's Winston-Salem office. So $100,000 from the city's funds would go to basically fund one of those 2 positions, as well as some of the other non-personnel operating expenses for the program. So that accounts for the full $2.95 million that we're proposing to appropriate at this point in time. Once I finish my presentation, I know that Valeen McMasters with Legal Aid, as well as Isaac Sturgill, are here if you have any questions about the Right to Counsel program.
Okay.
So with that appropriation of $1.35 million for the crime prevention plan, that has obviously freed up $1.35 million in the general fund balance that council approved as part of the 21-22 budget. So the next slide shows what we're proposing, how we're proposing to use those one-time fund balance funds. The first one is to provide them, and most of the funds would go towards addressing the increased cost of the fire station number 3 replacement. After initial bids, we determined that the project is going to be well over what we originally budgeted for the project.
And where is number 3 located?
Number 3 is located on Liberty Street.
Near the old airport.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Everybody know where it is. Okay, continue.
So there has been some value engineering, to try to reduce the cost, but I think we've arrived at a point where we know we need $1.1 million in additional funding for this project to move forward. So we would recommend $1.1 million from the fund balance. Second would be to provide $150,000 for the construction contingency for the new fire station number 13 project. Because of the length of time it took to get the contract executed and get started on the project, the price of materials has crept up. And what that has done is it has kind of eaten into the contingency for the project. So to make sure that we have enough contingency to address any unforeseen needs going forward, we're recommending to use $150,000 of the fund balance for fire station 13.
Where's 13 located?
13 is located off of, I believe it's Kester Mill Road, up behind, Haynes Mall.
That's the southwest ward?
That would be the south ward.
South ward, excuse me. Okay, just want everybody to know where they are. Okay, please continue.
Then finally, $100,000 would be appropriated to provide a contribution to the Winston-Salem Theater Alliance as part of their homecoming capital campaign. This would be funds that would help them to raise the money for their new theater that they've acquired and are building on 6th Street. And so this is a request that's come forward to us. So that accounts for the full $1.35 million of general fund balance that we would recommend utilizing that's been freed up because now we can use our federal ARPA funds for the crime prevention plan. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from anyone? If not, can I get a motion on G1?
I move for approval of item G1.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on G1. If the city clerk will please poll the committee.
Mayor Pro Tem Adams,
Yes.
Councilmember McIntosh,
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark.
Yes. So that is approved, G1. We will now go to G2. If the city clerk will please read this one.
Item G2, resolution awarding purchase order for police pursuit vehicles.
All right. By the way, I did ask Ben Rao to check on this. Ben, what did we pay last time for these vehicles and what are we paying now? I was surprised it was as close as it was given where the automobile industry is right now. But if you could please give us that information.
Sure. Chairman Clark, I'm going to recognize Johnny Taylor. He's provided that information, being over the fleet services.
Okay, sorry. Mr. Taylor, you have the floor, wherever you are.
Evening, Chairman Clark, other members of the committee, Mayor Pro Tem Adams, of course, Mayor Jones, everyone in attendance. We're actually paying $33,063 for each vehicle. That is a $215 increase per vehicle over the previous year. So the pricing was really good.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
What kind of time frame are they quoting?
They are at the point where they're not really giving us a time frame. It's almost a year out, to be honest.
Yeah. We can order 2021s and get 2022s probably. Well, that is an excellent price given where cars are now. The question is, when do you get it? But and my other question is, these are the newer version cars we've been using. Is the police department satisfied with them as far as their performance?
Yes, sir. They have proven to be effective for what we need here in the city of Winston-Salem. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Question.
Mr. McIntosh, I see your hand up.
Being a kind of a car geek, I've just got a question about, so I went and did a bunch of research on these vehicles, and they really do seem like they are going to be a significant upgrade to the sedans that we're using. They're as fast as the Chargers out there. They've just got, more elbow room for our officers. But my question was, there are 3 different engine packages available, and I don't need this information now, but I'm just interested in which package we chose. And the main difference being amongst them is the miles per gallon. So if I could get that information somewhere down the line, I'd appreciate it.
Yes, sir. We'll be sure to provide you with that information.
Great, thank you.
All right, that is definitely a car geek question.
Yes, it is.
Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Can I get a second?
Second.
We have a motion to second to approve G2, purchase of police pursuit vehicles. If the city clerk will please poll the committee.
Mayor Pro Tem Adams,
Yes.
Councilmember McIntosh,
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark.
Yes, that is approved. We will now go to G3. If the city clerk will please read that one.
Item G3, resolution awarding construction contract for City Hall roof restoration.
Okay. For any of you that have been to the 3rd floor, you'll notice we do have roof issues. This roof is 20, Jeff's pointing to it, 20 plus years old. So whoever would like from the staff would like to give us a quick rundown, I'd appreciate it.
I'm going to ask Ms. Gwen Royer to give a brief presentation information.
Okay. Ms. Royale, wherever you are.
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mayor Joins, Mayor Pro Tem Adams, and members of council and other guests this afternoon. You're correct. The current roof that is on City Hall is 20 years old. It has reached its life expectancy, and we are experiencing some leaks in the building that are pretty obvious. We recently bid out putting a new roof on the building. We decided to go with a 30-year EPDM, which is a rubberized roof, very similar to what we have on now. It is a synthetic rubber roof. And in addition to addressing the leaks that the building is experiencing, the parapet wall that surrounds the roof, it's about 5 foot tall. It's brick on the outside. Some of the brick and mortar needs to be repaired. And then also some of the capstone and the lead cap joints that join those. On the interior, there is also parging that was added years after the building was first built back in the late 20s. So that's going to be removed. So we're going to have to go in and address areas that are damaged on the parapet wall as well. The having to get all of the various advisory committees approval, which we have been able to do. Owens was the successful bidder, and they are now looking at lead time on roofing materials. We're going to have to really take in consideration when we can start the project based on limitations with products heading into wintertime. I'm going to pause now for questions.
When do you think we'll get the new roof then?
It's all contingent on materials. I would say the roof is actually going to start spring of next year. We'll see if we can't start on some of the parapet work prior to then.
Okay. So it'll be a photo finish whether or not we get the roof before we get the police cars, I guess. By the way, the synthetic roofing material is petroleum based, and it's in short supply like everything else. Any questions or comments? We certainly need it. You can see it visually. And I'm glad we're also working on the perimeter wall, because water will get in anywhere that it can find a place to. Can I get a motion on this, please?
Motion to approve.
A motion approved. Second? Somebody give me a second.
I said second.
Okay, we have a motion second. The city clerk will please poll the committee.
Mayor Pro Tem Adams,
Yes.
Councilmember McIntosh,
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark.
Yes, that is approved. We will now go to G4. If the city clerk will please read this one.
Item G4, resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Blue Cross Blue Shield of North Carolina to administer the city's self-funded Medicare plan for retirees age 65 and older.
Okay. Mr. Rao or Dr. Barnett, whoever would like to present this, Ben, whoever you want.
I'll recognize Dr. Barnett, who'll present this item.
Okay, Dr. Barnett, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair Clark, Mr. Mayor, Madam Mayor Pro Tem, members of the committee and members of the council. What we have before you this evening is a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Blue Cross Blue Shield of North Carolina to administer our Medicare Advantage plan. Currently, the city provides a Medicare Advantage plan for vested retirees. So that is for retirees that were employed with the city on or before July 1st of 2012 and who have given at least 15 years of service to the city of Winston-Salem. What this plan does is it provides for Medicare Part C and D, so it makes a complete Medicare package when someone is already qualified for and is receiving Medicare Parts A and B. And so we went out to market, as the materials show you. We did a comprehensive bid process, and of all of the bids that we got back, Blue Cross Blue Shield of North Carolina came back with the least expensive of all of the options, which was a monthly a monthly per member cost of $12.08 per month per member. So when we did a comprehensive review of all of the information that came in, we recommend that the city award this contract to Blue Cross Blue Shield of North Carolina, not just based on their per member per month fee, but also on their experience providing healthcare coverage and in their experience providing Medicare coverage to the citizens of North Carolina and in the United States.
Thank you. Ms. Adams.
Dr. Barnett, how are you doing?
Any better, and I couldn't stand it. And yourself?
I'm doing good.
Good.
When I read this past week, I see Councilman McIntosh smiling too. When I read this last week, I'm like, why we didn't get this on the other contract? What happened that they dropped their price to $12.08 to be a member when we had Aetna before, and Aetna's at $97. What's up? People not getting old no more? Everybody retiring or didn't come to the city after 2012? I'm concerned. That price is scary. It makes me think there might even, Councilmember Scipio shaking her head. I'm like, is this a mistake?
So we did ask that question several times. Is there a mistake? Are we certain that this is the number that they meant to send us? And they did come back to us several times and say, yes, that's not a mistake. And they explained to us the methodology in building that out. They're going to essentially rely heavily on the rebates that will be available for Medicare providers. And it appears just that Blue Cross Blue Shield is liquid enough to make this type of a business move. And they've got the experience in the market to support us using them. And we've actually been with Blue Cross Blue Shield in the past with no major issues on the Medicare side. So as we looked at it and went over it and re-went over it and checked references, it doesn't appear that there's going to be any significant change in the service that our members are receiving, even at $12.08 a month.
Even Councilmember Clark got a perplexed look on his face.
Well, I'm not old enough to know
what was the rate for Aetna for the previous plan per employee member?
Right now, we are at $127 per month, per member per month with Aetna.
And so how much money again are we saving to the bottom line of city government for our citizens versus the other contract?
Bottom line, this will be over a $1.6 million savings just in administrative fees. That, of course, does not factor in any changes to the claims experience. We're not sure what that would look like. But in terms of upfront savings that we will see, if all other things are equal, it's over $1.6 million.
Thank you. I just wish the other committees saved as much money as the finance committee saved. We'd be in good shape. Can I get a motion to approve before they withdraw the offer?
I move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion to second. City Clerk, will please poll the committee.
Mayor Pro Tem Adams,
Yes, before they run for the door.
Councilmember McIntosh,
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark.
Aye, that is approved. We will now go to the last item, which is G5. If the city clerk will please read this one. Thank you, Dr. Barnett, for a good job.
Item G5, resolution authorizing amendments to the Truist Stadium lease agreement with Winston-Salem LLC and its affiliates.
Mr. Rao, I'm going to let you present this, but I have only one question that you can answer, and that is this the last time we're going to change this? Because every time we vote on something, we come back and talk about it some more. So I will give you 2 minutes to get us up to speed.
Yes, sir. And my response to your first question there is these should be the final modifications. We have been in weekly discussions with the team's council. A lot of the changes you see here, I think some of it's been requested by Major League Baseball, and that's why we've had a lot of back and forth to get the agreement to a point where they're comfortable with it. But I think now we're at a point where we're ready to move forward. So what I'd like to do is pull up a table here that
Thank you, sir.
I included. So back in February, you all approved a new 25-year lease with WS-LLC that significantly reduced the lease payment that the team pays, reduced it by $795,000. So from over $1.5 million down to $750,000. In addition to that, through an amendment to the amended and restated incentive agreement, we eliminated the ticket surcharge of $175,000. So overall, we've reduced the financial obligation of the team by $970,000. So you can see there on the table what's in black print. Basically it's comparing what you approved in February to what we're proposing today with the final modifications. So those first several lines, nothing has changed about the base rent. There, at one point, they had approached us about having additional adjustments based on the impact of the pandemic, but we worked through that, and that is not part of the final modifications. But what is in red type are the proposed modifications to the new lease agreement. So you can see there with Section 6, the letter of credit, we would reduce that from $1.2 million to $900,000, which brings that more in line with what their lease payment will be going forward. Section 9 there basically established some of the language that Major League Baseball was requiring, and that is that the city would have to comply with baseball facility standards, also health and safety facility upgrades. But the caveat there is going to be that both are subject to the council appropriating the money for the improvements. But we know that those are going to be part of our obligation as far as keeping the facility at professional baseball standards. Move on to the second page there. There's a lot of language in there about insurance, the tenant's insurance requirements. Those were adjusted basically to where now it's, I believe I can see the writing there, $2 million for each occurrence and a $4 million cap, in aggregate. Also, in terms of our insurance, they wanted us to note that we are self-insured for commercial general liability, automobile liability, and workers' comp through RAMCO, just to make that explicit in the agreement. And then some adjustments to the indemnification language that basically we wouldn't hold each other harmless for anything that's as a result of negligence or willful misconduct. then at section 40 there, here again, some of this is kind of technical language, but it's language that was requested in some cases by Major League Baseball. So section 40 there, that requires approval by the league for any waivers, alterations, or modifications to the agreement. Move on to the next page there. Then the effective timing in terms of the performance of the agreement, basically making a change there in terms of, instead of using the term unavoidable delay, using the term force majeure and adding pandemics and epidemics as examples of events of force majeure. And then PDL requirements, this was a section that did take us a while to work through, and this is a section that Major League Baseball had requested. In the original agreement, it was a very general statement about professional baseball and the professional development league. This section that's now in the new agreement is more detailed. It defines a number of terms. It limits the liability of the professional development league and requires us to release them, from any claims, except again, those arising from fraudulent acts or willful misconduct. It also includes a provision that if we were to terminate the lease with the team and the tenant, lost their license, that we would work with Major League Baseball and the Professional Development League to identify a replacement club. So,
okay.
And then there was an exhibit at the end of the agreement that basically specifies maintenance and repair replacement responsibilities between the tenant and the landlord. There had been at one point a request to make some adjustments to that, but ultimately we said we were going to not change that part of the agreement, so there's no change in that. So those are the highlights. Again, we do feel like that these are the final modifications and that we're ready to move forward upon council's approval. There will have to be a public hearing because of this is a downtown development project. And so I believe that public hearing will take place at your first meeting in October. Yeah, October 4th of 2021. So once you hold that public hearing and it's approved, then our expectation is that we'll be able to move forward with executing the agreements. And that's one other point to make. That initially we had decided we were trying to consolidate the two lease agreements into one, but now we've determined that they need to be still two separate agreements. So, but the changes will be very similar to both.
Okay. Ms. Adams, you had your hand up.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Rao. But for me, I know that you've been working closely with this, but over the years, I've also worked with Ms. Saunders and our attorney, Angela Carmen, who may not be here, but I need to hear from them as well, Mr. Rao and Mr. Gary, because there's a lot of red language changes to this, and at the end of the day, I gotta know, hi, City Attorney Carmen, I gotta know that we're in good hands, and you know how I operate when it comes to this ballpark.
Okay.
Would you like me to address that question or that concern?
Yes, ma'am. I didn't know if you were there. We're glad to have you back too. Please.
Good.
Thank you. Despite the number of changes and despite the amount of time we had to spend on this item, I do think the city is in a pretty good position. So overall, I think we're okay. And the reason for the public hearing is because it is an economic development deal.
Okay, thank you.
Where's Ms. Saunders?
Ms. Saunders, are you out here in Zoom land?
I am. And
there you are.
Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem, Chairman Clark, and members of City Council and the Mayor. Yes, I've been involved in all the changes as well. So hopefully we can get this agreement executed and we can get our first lease payment.
So you feel pretty good about it too?
I do.
All right. Okay, I'm done.
Can I get a motion? Oh, Mr. McIntosh had a comment. Excuse me.
My question is about who determines when something is force majeure? Who makes that call? What is the definition of that, and who gets to determine it?
The definition, if I may, Chairman Clark.
Yes, sounds like a legal question to me.
Okay. The definition is basically set forth in the agreement, and I don't have it in front of me, but I'll be happy to provide it. But as being indicated, the prior definition did not specifically call for pandemics to be an event for unavoidable delays. It's now mentioned, but there still are specific requirements in terms of the monetary obligations that will not be waived.
Okay, so we've predefined what situations will be considered force majeure and which won't. So we won't get a surprise when something occurs, something new that we haven't seen before occurs, and they want to call that force majeure, and we'll say no, because it's not in the contract.
That's correct. It's spelled out, defined specifically in the contract.
Great, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, you had a comment?
Just a quick comment. I just wanted to say that I agree with what the city attorney said. Looks like a lot of changes, but when you read it in detail, it really doesn't affect the financial deal to the city. And I also wanted to point out that most of these changes were not requested by the local team. It was basically Major League Baseball was trying to work through this. So it's not like our local team folks were really trying to hammer the city. So I appreciate Ben's hard work and the city attorney and Ms. Saunders as well working through this. I think they successfully got a good deal for us. And I'm glad to get it signed. So as Ms. Saunders said, we can get that first lease payment.
All right, Mr. Mundy, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chairman Clark. And Attorney Carmen, on the first page, there's a reference to disqualifying event. Is that the same thing as force majeure, or is this something else? And if it's something else, again, who would determine what is a disqualifying event? Is that spelled out in detail?
I think it's separate from force majeure, but I'll have to go back and pull the contract, and I'll be happy to respond via memo to all of council with respect to that question.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Seeing no other questions or comments, can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Have a second? We have a motion to second. The city clerk will please poll the committee.
Mayor Pro Tem Adams,
Yes.
Councilmember McIntosh,
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark.
Aye. That is the last item on the agenda. Before we leave, I do have a curveball to keep our baseball analogy here to Mr. Garrity. I have been getting questions, and the papers had some articles about the upcoming fair, whether or not we're going to have it and this, that, and the other. Can you enlighten us in any way?
Thank you, Chairman Clark. We actually have an item coming to Mayor Pro Tem Adams' General Government Committee tomorrow.
Okay.
We're going to present the safety plan that the Fair Planning Commission has reviewed for having the fair, but it will be up to council if you don't want to do it. We also, Mr. Rouse, will also have, I believe Dr. Ohl will be attending the meeting as well to give his medical opinion on the safety of the fair.
Okay, so for everybody, that is General Government Committee, which is at 4:30 tomorrow, and Ms. Adams will be chairing that. I got it teed up for you there, Ms. Adams. With that, public safety is going to start at 6 o'clock. Mr. Taylor, I'm looking at you there.
That is correct, sir.
All righty. With hearing nothing else, we will stand adjourned. Thank everybody for participating today.